Today we will study about SSRF. Okay. SSRF stands for Server Side Request Forgery. And today's agenda is what is SSRF, and how to find the SSRF, and how to exploit the SSRF. And if okay, and after finding the SSRF, then what is the mitigation for that SSRF? What we send to the developer, like how can they implement for mitigation? How they can prevent this SSRF? Okay. SSRF stands for the server side request forgery. It is a type of security vulnerability that occurs when an attacker can trick a server into making unintended request on their behalf. Means like an attacker can trick a server and then making on unintended request. Like server don't want to that make the request, but attacker can trick a server. SSRF typically involves manipulating the server to send request to another internal or external system. Like we can manipulate the server and we can send the request to the internal system and external system, potentially bypassing security controls and gaining unauthorized access to sensitive information. So first, before SSRM, we'll understand the modern architecture of the web applications. So this is the architecture. This is a normal website. Like I give an example of Amazon.com. Amazon.com, and this is front-facing application, and all other things are firewall protected. Firewall. Okay. This is the firewall. And all internal things, this local host and database, their stock at Amazon.com, API services, intranet, this 192.160 dot this, and this is another intranet. They all are protected by the firewall. Like if we want to access them from the outer side, hello? Hmm, already बंद है भाई. रहने देते, कोई नहीं, करने दो, है ना? Okay, everything is okay. So see, sometimes what happen, web applications are, some assets are hosted on the cloud, and sometimes they are like, this is front facing application, Amazon.com. So we can only interact with this. If we want to access the Amazon.com, we can access. Like if we want to do something on there, we can do. But we cannot access this local host database, their internal, this is stock.amazon.com, this API service, this intranet, and this is also an intranet. Because this is firewall protected. Like if we want to go there, then this firewall will block us. If we want to process this, what happens? This firewall block us there. We cannot access them directly. But if this website is vulnerable to SSRF, then we can access their local host, we can access their cloud metadata, we can access their this stock Amazon.com, we can access their API service, we can also access their intranet. So this is modern architecture. All things are internally. These are their internal infrastructure, and this is only this website is hosted front facing web application. Okay. See, like what happened? How we can access this? Okay, this web application is vulnerable to SSR. So, okay, this Amazon, like there is a stock check feature. So if we want to check the stock, then this will send a request to this internal website. Okay, this will send request to this internal, their internal. This is internal web server. Like if you want to access this web server directly from here, then we cannot access because this firewall will block us. But we can access it from, like if we find the SSRF, then we can access it from this. Okay, we can access this from this URL. Like if there is an SSRF, we can access from this. Okay, this is all about SSRF. This is also a same scenario. Like we are the attacker, and these all application. Only this application is the front facing, and all the, like this is on cloud. This is intranet. This is also like they are like some web application running on internally. There is like internal server on another protocols like higher port, like 8080, 8081, or different like 8443 port, like internal HR application. They are not accessible from the outer internet. Only their internal employee can access them. But if this application is vulnerable to SSRF, then we can enter their intranet infrastructure and we can access this. We can access their this internet. We can access their intranet web application, this internal web application, internal server, internal HR application. Yeah, this is also a same scenario. But in this scenario, this is a web application, and this is an on a hosted on a, this is front facing application, and this is vulnerable to SSRF. And this is checking for, like this is requesting to the internal web application. This is stock check net. We can access only this. If we want to access them, then we cannot access. So what we can do, this is making requests internally, like Amazon.com URL stock check for checking the stock, like stock, like if we want to buy a laptop, like first this will check. Like if we want to buy a laptop, first this web application is check for the stock, like if laptop is available or not. So how this will check? It will send a request to this web application, internal web application, and check from there. But as an attacker, what we can do, we can check, we can change this URL. Like there is an admin service also running on this web server. So what we can do, we can change this admin and we can access this admin service. That is authentication bypass. Okay. This is also same. Like if web application, this is a front facing application, and if this is vulnerable to SSRF, then we can access the intranet. This is intranet 10.0.0.1. So we can access that also SSRF. Okay. And impact, like what we can do, we can abuse trust. Hello. अरे भाई यार, तो देखो आप खुद कर लो यार, बताओ। कहाँ पे है? चैट, चैट मैसेज। ओके ओके। Hey guys, do not spam. Like I am studying, like so it will disturb me. Who is spamming? Like yeah, don't spam, guys. Okay, okay, let's study. Like impact of SSRF, like abuse trust. Like how we can abuse trust? Okay, this is the internal applications. Like this is localhost. This is stock Amazon.net. This is API service. All these applications trust this front-facing application. So we can access them by like trick to this application. If we can trick this, like if we can trick this application to SSRF and access them. So this is abusing trust. Like this application is trust on this, and because of that, we can access this. This is web intranet application. So this is abusing trust and bypass IP whitelisting. What happened? Like, okay, this all internal web applications like this local host and intranet API service and this internal web services, all are protected by the firewall. Like if we want to access them from the outside, and we cannot access. There are some type of IP whitelisting, like only like if some IP are whitelisted, then they can access them. Like their employee, they can access them. But from SSR, we can access them. So we can bypass IP whitelisting from SSRF. Next, authentication bypass. Sometimes what happen if sometimes what happen if there are we will talk about we will discuss after the session. If anyone have the doubt, then we will discuss after the session. Okay, what happen if there are some admin service, like this is a web service, and if there are some admin services running on this web service, so we can access them because this application trust on this, and we can access the admin service. So we can do the authentication bypass. Next is read resource. We can also read the resource, like from file colon forward slash. We can read the internal resource. They're from their internal server. So we can also scan the internal network. We can also get cloud metadata. Sometimes what happens, some of the asset of this web application is hosted on the cloud, and we can get them through this web application because this cloud environment is trust on this application. We are always because of this trust, we can fetch metadata from this cloud to this vulnerable web application. Okay, so where we can hunt for SSR, like destination parameter, redirect parameter, URI parameter, path parameter, URL parameter, fallback parameter, DR parameter, fetch parameter, file parameter, document, path. You can search for PHP path, all the path. And if a web application is fetching and loading some type of content, then we can hunt for the SSR there. Okay, types of SSR. Regular SSRF and blind SSRF. In regular SSRF, we get the content in the response in our burp suite. So we can test for the normal regular SSRF there. But what happens, sometimes web application don't give us the response. Because of that, we can only use blind SSRF for finding the SSRF. We can use the burp collaborator for finding this type of SSRF. Okay, what we can do from an SSRF? Okay. If we found SSRF on a site, and what we can try, we did all things, and we find the SSRF. So we can try for the local file inclusion from this. First try this file colon forward slash forward slash forward slash. If they are blocking this, then use DICT. They are blocking this, use SFTP, LDAP, TFTP. If they are blocking file, then use them. Okay, you can scan the internal network. How you can scan? The giving by this local host, port 1, port 2, 3, 4, 5, one by one, and check in the response, like from differential response. Because if port is open, then response is different, and if port is closed, then response is different. So you can conclude from there, like there is an SSR, this port is open and this port is closed. Okay. We can also perform SSRF to remote file inclusion. We can do the SSRF to shell. We can get the remote code execution, and we can also perform the SSRF to XSS. Okay, I will tell you how you can perform this. If the target application is on the cloud, like I told you already, if target application is on the cloud, then we can use this URL http 169.168.254 to fetch the metadata. Okay, now we will do some labs from the port figure. These are the labs. This. Okay, let's try first lab. Okay, I'm opening this lab. This lab has an stock check feature which fetches data from an internal system. See, to solve the lab, change the stock check feature URL to access the admin interface at this http colon forward slash localhost admin and delete the user Carlos. And this is our goal. This lab has an stock check feature and which fetches data. If application is loading some type of content or fetching data, always try SSRF there. So this is fetches data from their internal system. Let's try. You will understand more after this. See, there is this is an stock check feature, and this is vulnerable to SSRF. So I'm just capturing this request. This is the request for this stock check feature. I am sending to this to the repeater. Okay, see, we are getting the response. So we can try the normal SSRF. If we are not getting any response, then we can try only the blind SSRF. Okay, this is the request for this lab. What is our goal? This is stock check feature, and this is connecting with the backend. I am URL decode this because this is URL encoded data. This is http stock dot valicatosoap.net. Okay, what this application is doing, see, you can understand from there. This is our website. Okay, you can understand. Okay, this is the lab, but when we checking for the stock, and this is calling in the backend with this website. Okay, so what is our goal? We need to access this local host. If we successfully access this, then this lab will solved. What we can do? Change this URL address to this local host. See, what is our goal? This lab has an stock check feature which fetches data from an internal system. To solve the lab, change the stock check URL access to admin interface. We can access this local host from this URL. Like if we want to access it from the outside, then we cannot access because this is firewall protected, and on local host only be like access from the internal. You cannot access the local host from the outside world. Okay, so what we can do here, see, this is accessing this stock check feature website from here and checking like if stock is available or not. What we can do, changing this URL to this. I'm just changing this. This is the URL, and I'm changing it to local host and okay, admin. They give us this admin. We need to access this. See, we successfully accessed this admin panel. Okay, if you want to see in your browser, then right click on there, show response in browser, copy and paste in your browser. We accessed this admin panel only through this. See, if we want to delete and if we want to do something here, then we cannot do anything here because we are accessed this through this, because we don't have cookie for this admin access. Okay, like if you want to see, let's see, nothing there. Like if I want to delete this, see, admin interface only available if logged in as administrator. You can delete only the Carlos if you are. We can delete the Carlos from here directly, but if we want to delete from this interface, then we cannot. Why? Because we are accessing this admin interface because of this. Like we are fetching content. Like we don't have the cookie for this website, like authenticated cookie. We are just accessing through the SSRF vulnerability. So what is our next thing? We need to delete the user Carlos. Okay, delete the user Carlos. So let's search like what is the URL for Carlos. See, this is the URL. From that we can delete. So admin delete username Carlos. If we want to delete, then admin delete username Carlos. Let's send this request. See, this lab is solved. But if we want to delete it from there, we cannot delete because we are not authenticated there. We are just fetching the content. So we can send the request from there, not from there. Okay. This is all about this lab. So let's see the next lab. Okay, we solved this lab. Okay, so with this sequence there. Okay. SSRF. Okay. Accessing. This lab has an stock check feature which fetches data from an internal system. To solve the lab, use the stock check functionality to scan the internal. This is intranet 192 168.0.x. We don't know x, like what is the value of x. Range for an admin interface on port 8080. Like this is available on port 8080, but they don't give us the like what is the value of x. We need to find that, and after that, our goal is to delete the user Carlos. I will show you what is the scenario in this lab. See, and this again same stock check feature. Like this is using the stock check feature for checking the stock. But what is our goal? We need to try to access the intranet, but we don't know what is there. They give us 192.168.0 dot anything, and we need to find. So we can brute force this. We can brute force this value, and after that we can access this. Like this, there is a service running on the intranet. Okay, so I am just, and you will understand from the lab more. This is the lab, and again, stock check feature is vulnerable to SSRF. So I am capturing this request. Okay, we will discuss after the session. Question answer. This is stock check feature. I'm sending this request to the repeater. See, stock is 380. So let's see. It's making the request in the backend. It's making on the request on the 01. But we need to find that there is another intranet service is also running. So what is the scenario? Okay. Currently, we are accessing this, but we need to find there is another service is also running. If we want to access this directly, then we cannot access because firewall will block us. So we can access this from like trick to this front end web application, and from there we want to access. Like we are accessing this currently, but we want to access this, and we need to find on which IP this is available. Like they gives us only X value, so we need to find the value of X. Okay. So okay, how we can check? We can check one by one this, like, but this is very time consuming. Like okay, see, internal service not available. 3. Okay, this is also not available. Like 4 is also not available. We can check like this. Like every IP can go 0 to 255. So we can go 0 to from 255. So we can use the intruder here. So I'm sending this request to intruder. I'm selecting this value because I'm only want to brute force this. I'm adding this. In payload, we can use the number 1, 2, 5, 5, and difference is 1. I'm just attacking, and let's see. Okay, any differential response. Okay, we did everything right. STP 070. Okay. Okay, we did everything right. Okay. See, what is the problem there? Okay, port 80. Okay, I didn't use the port 80. Port 8080. We need to supply the port 8080 also because service is running on the port 8080. I forgot that. Okay. Okay. This gives only like this is only a request which is different. All the other requests are see not found. So we can check there. Otherwise, all the like see these are two requests. All the other requests are different. So we can check like okay maybe this is available. This IP 0.448. So I'm sending this to the repeater. What is our goal there? To scan the internal range admin interface. Again, we want to access the internet admin interface. So let's check. We access the admin interface. How? What I did, I like see. We need to brute force this. So I'm sended this request to the intruder. I checked this. Like, okay, I want to brute force this. And what I did, I then use the port 8080, and after that, I choose the payload 12255. Okay, you can choose 02255 because IP range can go 02255. Okay, after that we find this and we get this admin panel. Okay, if you want to see, like we successfully get, right click on there, copy this and paste it this there. Okay, we accessed. But if we want to delete this, so we cannot delete because we are not authenticated there. We just fetch this content from there. If we want to delete this, then we cannot. It's not found. Why? Because we are trying to access this from the outer internet. See, we are trying to delete directly from the internet, then we cannot. But if we want to delete, then we need to delete from this, like manipulating this uh, front-facing applications URL, and then from there we can delete. But if we want to delete from the outer internet, then we cannot delete this. See, we cannot delete because we cannot access it from the outer internet. If I am deleting, for delete, this is the URL. So as last delete username Carlos. I'm sending this request. Let's see. We solved this lab successfully. So let's go for the next lab. See, this is the basic SSRF against the local server. We did this in the first lab. We accessed the admin services on localhost. And next is SSRF against backend system. We accessed backend system successfully by brute forcing the backend system, and then after that we get the admin panel. So next is blind SSR. What happens? Sometimes web application don't give you the response, so we can only perform the blind SSR. So we can use the Bark collaborator URL for their finding this type of SSR. Okay. So I'm going to the next lab. Okay, we will discuss everything after the class. Anyone have the doubt? So this is the blind SSRF with out of band detection. I'm just, this is the lab, and what is our goal? This site uses a analytics software which fetches the URL specified in the referrer header. What happens? Sometimes web application are using some analytics on some different software internally, and they are like fetching from the data from referrer header. Sometimes they are collecting our cookies. Like sometimes they also collect our user agent also. We can also perform SSRF there. We can also perform SQL injection there. Like if they are collecting the user agent in their database or somewhere else, then we can perform many more vulnerabilities on the user agent. So currently, the scenario is they are collecting this referrer header. Okay, to solve the lab, use this functionality to cause an HTTP. Okay, they are use the scenario. You need to find the SSRF there. Like how we can find SSRF there. Blind SSRF. Copy this request, pasting there. I'm fetching any request. So this is the request I'm sending to this. Okay. What is the scenario in this? Like they using an analytics software internally, like only any software, and that is fetching content from there. So like if we put any URL there, then that analytics software will fetch that URL. So what we can do, we can use our Bark collaborator URL. Like if that analytics software fetch URL from there, then there is an SSRF. I use my Bark collaborator URL. I am sending this, and this lab is solved. And I'm going to the see, we get an HTTP request from there, this analytics software. This request came from that analytics software that is loading content from the referrer header. I'm closing this intruder. See, this lab is sold. So we find a blind SSRF there. Next, what happens sometimes web applications using blacklist and whitelist based filter, and they will blacklist. Like if you use 127.0.0.1, so the developer know, like you can try for this. So they accept, they blocked this. Like if you are using localhost, maybe they blocked this. What we can use? We can use this. You use this. You use this. So yeah, don't try to memorize. Like you can create them using this website. This is the website. Then you can create many IP to another format converter. This is the website. So yeah, I'm sending you. You can use this for converting. This we solved this lab. Okay. Next is okay. We did this. SRF with blacklist. Okay. This is blacklist with. Okay. This lab has an stop check feature which fetches data from an internal system. To solve the lab change the okay same lab, but currently what they did, like they are aware we are like after that, like we reported some bugs, and after that they did filtering. Like okay, they applied some filter, like then we cannot access. So we are checking again, like they if they are misconfigured that filtering. So always like if you report a bug and after reporting they applied a fix, so always recheck that and try to bypass that. Maybe you will bypass that and you will get the bounty again. Okay. Okay, again, this stop check feature is vulnerable to SSR. This is the URL. I'm sending it to the repeater and this again. So what is our goal there? Okay, see, stop check feature which is fetches data from an internal system. Again, this is fetching. I'm URL decoding this. See, this is fetching data from internal system. So, but they are blocking. Like if we now if we try to use HTTP 0.0.1 and admin plus try normal. Let's see. See, external stock check blocked this request for security reason. They blocked our request. It's like, what is the scenario? We are trying to access this local host service, but they are using some filtering on this. So from that we cannot access. So we are just we need to like when they are blocking you, you can try to bypass this. Like you can use this website, convert some. Okay, I'm increasing size. There are some converter, say IP to hex. So you can use this. Hello. Mhm. Okay, you can use this website. 0.0.1. So we can use this for bypass. Okay. Again, you can use IP to binary converter. Okay. Here we are. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can use IP to binary converter. You can use this for bypass, blacklist. IP to decimal converter. Yeah, you can use this for bypass. IP to octal. You can use this also. Okay. And you can also use this like removing this number, removing this number also, removing some numbers. I will try this like this. Okay, I am removing only one digit. Let's see like if we accessed it or not, we bypass it or not. See, I removed one and I successfully bypassed it. Access the admin panel. Let's try for admin, like if we can access it or not. SSRF admin. See, again they blocked. So they blocked the small letter. So I am trying to access with capital A. Again, I bypassed it. Oh yeah. So response in browser, and I'm sending this request. See, we successfully get this. We want to delete the user and send the request from delete username, and we can delete this. Okay, and after that, okay, mitigation. To mitigate SSRF, it is essential to implement robust input validation. Like always, never ever trust the user input. Always validate whitelist. We can use the whitelist or blacklist based allow resources, and always use the network level protection. You can use the network level firewall and regularly update and patch the servers. Like if what happens, if there is some server running internally, maybe there are some service running internally and that is outdated, and we can find some RC or something else there. You can exploit that if that is outdated. Always patch your service. Okay? So